Imagine this. You're not chasing rare coins. You're not a collector. You're not even thinking about money in that way. You're just going through your daily routine. Maybe you just came back home. You empty your pocket, and a few quarters fall onto the table. You barely look at them. Maybe you spin one. Maybe you stack them, and then you move on. But what if I told you that sometimes the most overlooked coins are not the rarest by mintage, not the oldest, not the flashiest, but the ones people ignored at the wrong time? And today, we're looking at 4 of those coins. 4 quarters that most Americans have seen, used, and forgotten. The Georgia quarter from 1999, the Mississippi quarter from 2002, the Nevada quarter from 2006, and the Saratoga quarter from 2015. And at first, they don't look like anything special. They feel familiar, almost too common to matter. But that's exactly where the story begins. Because in the world of coin collecting, what feels common today can quietly become tomorrow's overlooked opportunity. And the reason is not just rarity, it's behavior. It's how people treated these coins when they first entered circulation. It's how many survived in good condition. And it's how collectors think years later when they start searching for the best examples. Now let's go back to 1999, because that year changed everything in modern U.S. coin history. The launch of the State Quarters program was not just a design update, it was a cultural moment. Millions of people who had never cared about coins suddenly started paying attention. Kids were filling maps. Families were collecting sets. But here's the part people forget. In those early months, especially with coins like the Georgia quarter, most people didn't take it seriously. They treated them like regular money. They spent them. They scratched them. They didn't store them carefully. And because of that, today, finding a Georgia quarter that still has strong detail, clean surfaces, and minimal wear is more meaningful than it seems. Not because it's extremely rare, but because it represents survival. It represents a coin that escaped the fate of millions of others, and collectors love that. They love coins that tell a story of preservation, especially when that coin comes from the very beginning of a historic series, because beginnings always carry emotional weight. They mark the start of something bigger, and that alone creates a subtle layer of demand that builds over time. Now move into 2002, the Mississippi quarter, and everything shifts in tone. This coin doesn't try to impress you. It doesn't jump out. It's quiet, almost elegant, with its magnolia blossoms representing the natural beauty of the state. But this calm design hides something important. Because coins with fine, delicate details like this are more vulnerable to wear. Every time they pass through hands, machines, pockets, those tiny lines start to fade. And over years of circulation, many of these coins lose their sharpness, which means the ones that still look crisp, the ones where you can clearly see the detail in the petals and leaves, become harder to find. And that's where collectors begin to notice them. Not because of hype, but because of condition rarity, which is one of the most misunderstood concepts in coin collecting. Most people think rarity means low mintage, but experienced collectors know that a coin with high mintage can still be difficult to find in top condition, and that's where its real interest lies. And Mississippi quarters in high grade often fall into that category, quietly building demand among those who understand what to look for. Now shift your attention to 2006, the Nevada quarter, and suddenly the energy changes completely. This coin feels alive. The wild horses running across the landscape create motion, depth, and visual impact. And coins like this tend to stay in people's memory longer. They're more recognizable, and over time, that recognition creates familiarity, and familiarity can turn into demand. But there's something deeper happening here, something that most casual viewers never consider. When a coin has a complex design like this, with multiple elements and movement, the minting process becomes more challenging, and with that challenge comes variation. Small differences in strike quality, slight shifts in how details appear, minor inconsistencies that most people would overlook, but collectors don't, because sometimes those small variations make a coin stand out. And when a coin stands out, it gets attention. And when it gets attention, it enters the collector conversation. And that's how interest begins to grow, slowly, quietly, without noise. And now we come to the Saratoga quarter from 2015, and this is where the story becomes even more interesting. Because this coin is relatively modern, and that creates a psychological blind spot. Most people assume that newer coins can't be valuable. They think there's plenty of time, plenty of supply, no urgency to save them. But history has proven again and again that this assumption is often wrong. Every coin that is valuable today was once new, every single one. And the difference is not age, it's what happened to those coins over time. The Saratoga quarter represents the British surrender in 1777, a critical moment in the American Revolutionary War, and coins tied to historical events carry a narrative that collectors connect with. But because this coin is still recent, most people haven't started preserving it yet. They're still spending it, still ignoring it, and that's exactly how future scarcity is created, not instantly, but gradually, as fewer high-quality examples remain over time. And collectors who understand this don't wait for a coin to become rare. They identify potential early. They look for clean examples. They set them aside, and they let time do the rest. Now, when you look at all four of these coins together, you begin to see a pattern, not of obvious rarity, but of hidden opportunity, a pattern shaped by human behavior, by how people treat what they believe is common, and how that perception changes over time. And here's the truth that most people never realize. The majority of valuable coins were once ignored, overlooked, dismissed as ordinary, and only later did people go back and say, "I wish I had saved those." And that's the cycle repeating itself again and again. And the only difference between those who benefit from it and those who don't is awareness. Because once you start paying attention, once you start noticing condition, detail, preservation, you begin to see coins differently. You stop seeing them as just money and start seeing them as pieces of a larger story. Pieces that may or may not become more valuable, but always carry the potential if the right factors come together. And let's be clear, not every coin will be worth more than face value. Most of these quarters in average condition are still just 25 cents. And that's important to understand. This is not about false promises or unrealistic expectations. This is about recognizing possibilities, understanding how value develops, and knowing what to look for. Because in higher grades, in better preserved states, in coins that avoided heavy circulation, values can increase, sometimes modestly, sometimes more significantly, depending on demand, grading, and collector interest. And that's where the opportunity exists. Not in every coin, but in the right coin, in the right condition, at the right time. So next time you receive change, don't ignore it. Don't rush past it. Take a moment. Look at the year. Study the design. Check the condition. Because the truth is simple. Opportunities like this don't announce themselves. They don't look rare. They don't feel valuable. They sit quietly in your pocket, waiting for someone who understands what they're looking at. And maybe, right now, somewhere in your home, in a drawer, a jar, your wallet, or even your car, one of these coins is already there, unnoticed, unrecognized. And the only thing separating it from being just another coin is your attention. Because once you start seeing differently, everything changes. And that's the real power of coin collecting. It's not just about money, it's about awareness, patience, and understanding how small details can lead to bigger discoveries over time. And that's exactly why these 4 simple quarters are more interesting than they look. Because they remind us that value doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. And only those who listen ever hear it. This is HF Coins World. And your next valuable discovery might not be somewhere far away. It might already be in your hands.